What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on a goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now there ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
Welcome in. We are here for Tell the Truth. Had to take last week off, but we are back to talk about a few different things. We got some Andy Reid press conference stuff to catch up on. Got Senior and Shrine Bowl to talk about.
EB press conference.
Games have happened. EB did speak to the media as well. And then we have a little bit of a roster breakdown as well as we get closer to free agency, combine coming up, obviously draft later on into the spring. But DG, CJ, how you feeling, man?
We here, you know.
God is great.
Another day, another dollar. We here. Hopefully, all y'all out there are doing well.
It is weird not seeing us in the Super Bowl. Not gonna lie, very weird. But we'll be back.
Yeah, I'm about to give me some wings and some barbecue and sit back and be stress free.
Because this is the first year I ain't like planning where to watch the Super Bowl.
Right.
Trying to figure out like how I'm gonna get
Right.
going or getting there. We just it feels kind of weird. We just chilling. So
We'll be at the crib, you know, whatever happened.
I'm gonna just be vibing out.
Hopefully my parlay hit. That's what
I'm saying. Seattle money line, baby. That's where my money is. So.
It is very weird, just obviously for us, and given the fact that we have gone through this 3 straight years, being obviously in the Super Bowl and you know experiencing all of that. And this year, I'm tempted to say, but it also just seems like it just doesn't have the same juice to it. It doesn't feel like a massive Super Bowl game is happening on Sunday. I say that just from the general talk around it because, and again, maybe I'm just in my Chiefs bubble, but it doesn't seem that way.
No, other fans have said that too. It's not just you.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of and again, a little bit of that is the unlikely nature of the Seahawks and Patriots in the meeting together, obviously, and being such long odds necessarily before the season. But it just doesn't have the juice of other years past for
all the storylines we wanted to see. You thought coming into the season, could the Chiefs get back and make it 4 straight Super Bowls? Could Josh Allen get to his first one? We didn't get that. Could the Eagles go back to back? We didn't get that. Could the Niners finally break through? We didn't get that. So all the big storylines that the NFL per se would have loved to have didn't happen. So now you get Seattle, first time getting back there since 2014. New England ending their drought, getting back to not only winning their division, but getting back to a Super Bowl. So it's like these are 2 good football teams. They've earned the right to be here. But storyline-wise, DMac's right. It's very underwhelming from a big storyline. There's still good storylines within the game, but like who's the most popular player on the field? Like there's no like Pat Mahomes, Kelsey, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley's. There's just JSN, like Stephon Diggs. Is Cardi B the most popular player at the Super Bowl? That's not a football player. Like it's just like it's very underwhelming.
Stephon Diggs would probably be the biggest.
I think you would. He should be.
Just like if you take
from
the
popularity standpoint,
the average person and be like, oh, who's the person dating Cardi B? It's him. So I guess he's the most popular. Like it's not you know,
it's not a Starfield game, bro,
at all. And it's an interesting thing. And like tonight is the Pro Bowl. Nobody's watching it. Nobody necessarily cares, but it exists. It's happening. And the crazy thing is the biggest thing leading up to the buildup of this is probably going to end up being who ends up. And I guess the other awards matter, but it's probably going to end up being the Hall of Fame reveal coming up on Thursday of seeing, hey, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't get in. Who got in instead of them, I suppose, right? But yeah, man, it's weird. And I don't want to make it a Chiefs-centric thing necessarily, but it just the juice just isn't there the same way that it normally is for whatever reason. And I think that us not being there and everything that comes with us being the dynasty that we are and having the best player in the sport that everybody wants to watch, that is a part of it. Now, people don't want to admit that, of course, but you know.
But they know it's true, D-Mac. I hear plenty of fans like on the timeline. I tweeted it. I was being in my DG troll bag. I saw a lot of, man, I wish the Chiefs was playing. Man,
Right.
if Pat Mahomes, this game would be way more fun. I hate the Chiefs, but I wish they were still out there.
No
People hate
matter
to love
how
us,
you
DMac. It's
wanna
very true.
slice it, man. Every story needs a villain.
You
And
may hate us, but you love
need
to
a
watch.
bad guy.
Facts.
We lived two decades where Tom Brady and them was the bad
Was
guy.
the bad guy, and you hate
It
to
just
watch it.
it just was what it was. Even though you hated seeing it,
You still had
sat
to watch
down
it.
and watched it. Like
Every year
regardless of what happens. That's why dynasties are
needed in sports.
are
Sure.
needed. Yeah, like
For sure.
the NBA isn't the same when the Lakers aren't good. Like
Facts.
I grew up hating the Lakers, but the simple fact that like the Lakers have to be in the playoffs, the Yankees have to be in the playoffs.
In baseball, it's everything.
It just is what it is. You know, you need the evil empire somewhere in there to kind of have that balance. Some years they win, and some years they get knocked off. So when they don't make it, it don't hit the same. I'm sorry.
That's what keeps the casual fan locked in. Because like D-May said, most fans don't care about the Seahawks unless you're from Seattle, that area. I mean, everybody knows who the Patriots are because, like you said, they were dominant for so many years, and eventually we know they would get back. Didn't think it'd be this soon, but the casual fan doesn't know who Sam Darnold is. The casual fan doesn't know who Kenneth Walker is, Nico Manwari, or DeMarcus Lawrence, or Tariq Woolen, or Sean. But it's like these are really good players that we know because we're nerds and we love the game. But if I ask the casual fan who's the starting tight end for the Seahawks, they'd be like, "Who?" They're not gonna know who that is. Like, so that's what brings like. AJ Barner, who's that? Like, they don't know about these things because they're not in the limelight. So these teams have earned the right to be here. I'll say that again. And we're going to watch the game because we love football. But overall, it's not a big star-driven game. And your casual coworker or family member is not going to know who won or lost this game. They'll know about the commercials or the halftime performance, but as the game, they probably won't really talk about it as much, unfortunately. So,
yeah, that's the reality. We might as well just get this out the way. Patriots won an ugly game versus the Broncos. Not a surprise because that they literally had Jarrett Stidham playing. And the Seahawks and Rams played a great game, which also not a surprise because those are two great teams in my personal opinion. Who you have for the Super Bowl?
Seattle 27-20. I think they covered, or I'll say 26-20. I think they covered the spread respectfully, like 4.5.
So I did say this. Usually when this previous Super Bowl has been like a blowout the year before,
The next one's going to be close.
Yeah, we usually end up getting a pretty instant classic Super Bowl. So I do think both of these teams are going to give us a really good game. I'll say Seattle. I'll say 28-24 Seattle.
I think that's a good score. I got it 27-23 personally, and I know CJ might have said something close to that.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's 4 to 6 points for me. Seattle ends up winning the game. Or 4 to 7 points, I'll say. But I think that it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be worthwhile to watch it. Certainly, obviously, if you're a football fan, of course you're going to watch it because it's a Super Bowl. But I think that it is going to be interesting to see happen. I do agree. Drake May has to play significantly better than he has throughout the
for sure.
The postseason.
For sure. If he does anything like he's been doing, they will lose. They probably get embarrassed, honestly.
Yeah, it will be ugly. Because the Seattle Seahawks have the ability to. So with that out of the way, we may circle back to that a little bit later on. We did have some news, in between the last time that we talked to you guys. Andy Reid did have his press conference. Eric Bieniemy also had his press conference. I'll be honest, the Andy Reid one did not necessarily sit great with me.
That was funny. I know DMac was like,
mostly now. Granted, Andy Reid went into that press conference attempting to accomplish two things: one, praise EB; two, get Matt Nagy a job. Ultimately, he did get Matt Nagy a job, who was now the offensive coordinator of the Giants. And he wanted to make that very clear. And there were some things that he said along the way of that and did not necessarily make me feel great. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Him mentioning that they were a top 5 offense. Again, a lot of conversation about what that means. Yes, top 5 offense, the process in which they were getting to be a top 5 offense, which I can throw the tweet on the screen as well. The process with which they got to be a top 5 offense relied pretty heavily on Patrick Mahomes basically dragging them to do that. And I'll say that with some help from a resurgent Travis Kelce, and certainly, the interior of the offensive line that was really good for them. I wouldn't even say for the majority of the season. While that interior three were certainly together, it was great. And that's why two of those guys are in the Pro Bowl, to say the least. But I think that quote concerns me specifically because it's a question of, does he realize that there was bad process last year, even if the results maybe looked okay while their guys were still out there? That's the thing that scares me. And ultimately, if he doesn't recognize that, then we're in trouble because they have to fix these things. And I'll go ahead and throw it on the screen. Like, again, the top 5 numbers are the top 5 numbers. I understand it, but literally, and these are just kind of charting things, and none of this is the end all be all, but it's more so just little puzzle pieces to be able to inform the overall story that you would also see on tape when you turned it on week in, week out. Was that Mahomes was the best quarterback out of structure. He was the best quarterback going through multiple reads because the first read wasn't necessarily open all that often. He was getting little support, especially from the run game, which we all know struggled mightily throughout the entirety of the season. And he was scrambling at a career high rate to be able to have a career high rushing yards. And ultimately, that was a serious issue because it ultimately led, in my opinion, contributed to him getting hurt. So those are the things that contributed to where we got to ultimately with this season, and why they can't necessarily repeat that. They have to be able to be better next year. And that involves the process. So that's why the part of Andy Reid's press conference kind of concerned me. EB sounded great. He came in with a lot of energy in his press conference. Yes, I do agree with that.
Glaze fence is crazy. Chill out.
EB came in with a lot of energy. He said he did learn some things along the way as far as his stops that he said elsewhere. So we'll hope that he brings them. But again, these are things that, and we'll talk about this as we get into the next few shows and we talk about our choose your own off season. The off season will begin to inform and give us some clues about where things are headed, hopefully with this team. But ultimately, we won't know what happens until lineup if things really have changed. So that's just my general thoughts on Andy Reid and EB's press conference. Do you guys have anything to weigh in on with here?
No.
It was a classic. You don't get nothing from Andy Reid press conference.
Man. Yeah, he said the same things he always says.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Listening to Andy Reid press conferences for fun. We do them to get quotes, and we want to obviously listen because we want to see what he has to say, even though we can kind of predict what he's going to say and how he's going to say it, more importantly. But I didn't take anything from it that I didn't expect him to say. I expected EB to come in enthusiastic, like you said, be accountable, bring the energy, and say he's going to bring some new ideas and bring some new conversations to the room, like we all expect them to. But at the end of the day, we're not going to get our answers until we see these things on the field. So didn't really take anything from the press conference, honestly. But it was good to see EB back in the building. Good to see the energy. Obviously, we know some of his family members because we met him throughout the city, so it's good to have him back here. But just excited. I'm more excited for training camp now than I ever was, just to see guys back out there. Definitely want to see how Pat's progressing with his knee injury and just see how guys are getting back on the field. And this is a big offseason for us. So, but they don't give us any answers as far as stuff we want to know, roster construction, decisions, things we want to see. But yeah, no, we didn't get anything from the press conference. So, but it was good to see the guys talk though. So Pat's done an interview. Andy's done one. EB. Is Veach scheduled to speak at the
We'll see
combine?
Him at the combine. I imagine the next time that we'll see him is at the combine, which makes sense, and that's normally how this goes. So
that's cool.
Yeah, next time we'll hear from Veach is probably at the combine, and Andy Reid will be there, and he'll speak again as well. So we'll hear from both of those guys in Indy. DG, you said no. You got nothing to add as far as that's concerned.
Classic Andy Reid, man.
Yeah, classic. We're here. We'll see what happens. So next thing up on the docket, talking about foundational players. And I just want to do this exercise because I think it's kind of important. It'll maybe inform some of the things that we do down the line, looking at Brett Veach's draft history and things of that nature, which is an off-season project that we want to get to later on, probably into the summer, to be perfectly honest with you. Now that we have the sample size to be able to evaluate some of these classes, certainly in hindsight. But foundational players on the roster, I feel like is important. And it's just guys that it's hard, obviously, in the NFL to keep everybody around for a long time, but just guys that you feel solid about next 3 years, being on this team and being real contributors to this team. And I do wonder how many of those guys we're ultimately going to get to. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback would be one. question is, do you guys feel that way about either the wide receivers, Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy?
I mean, I picked Rashee Rice as one of my guys to talk about. So,
yeah, you can be excluded from this conversation.
Oh, okay.
You want to save your answers.
You got it.
I know DG has one of them as well, technically. So
you can't talk neither. DMac, go ahead.
I don't know. To answer, I don't know if I could say either one of those guys is a foundational player, and I think that there is something to be said for right now that you have serious. I don't think that you could say that you have any foundational weapons, period. And that is a concerning thing. Well, you can hope, but to say that you just have
guaranteed, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at every single NFL team. I guess no, yeah. You look at every single NFL team that's serious about competing for championships. They would say, "Hey, we know we can rely on this weapon moving forward," and that is a slightly concerning thing for us to not necessarily have right now. So that would be something that I would land on. Offensive line, you know, I would venture to say, obviously, Creed and Trey. Spoiler alert, I do have Josh Simmons. I would say Josh Simmons. I know other people may not feel that way yet, but I right.
I'm really based on the way Josh played, and I didn't see anything injury wise with his knee or leg. I'm confident what Josh is going to do, because a lot of the thing time was missed was personal reasons. The wrist injury sucked. It was on the chip block with Kareem, but his knee looked good, so I'm gonna count him as a guaranteed piece for me.
CJ is putting Pacheco runs under my comments, and I want to cry right now looking at this.
It's not about Pacheco. Look at the formations.
I know it's not. I know it's not. It's just funny that
hey, DG, look at
I'm sitting here looking at this. I'm like, oh, this is disgusting.
No, but look at the formation. This is what EB needs to lean on for our conversation. But go ahead. These are just reference points.
Yeah.
Just reference.
I hope so. But yeah, so that it'd be the Josh, and I'm tempted to put Kingsley there, but I'm not going to do that yet. It's only 1 year in which he played very well, but we got to see him raise his level, which I think he can. And then in addition to being able to repeat that, so I'll hold off on him. But I think that Josh, Creed, Trey, and having 3 foundational players on the offensive line, I think is a pretty good place to be. So I'll say
3 out of 5. That's majority. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, we would have liked to see Jalen Warrels, but we had a lot of conversations about that. So, but we'll get into the wide receivers here. So, offensively, I would say it's Mahomes, and then 3 offensive linemen. Unfortunately, one of them is obviously a left tackle, the other one being the center, and those are pretty important for the long-term health of your roster. But a little bit concerning. That's where you can really only land, obviously, given Kelsey's age and things of that nature too. Defensively. You have to put Chris Jones, and that's even with the age. You just kind of by default you have to. George Karlaftis is solid. I don't know if I would consider him a foundational player. Truthfully, I know that they've paid him and he has a long-term contract. It's not to say he's bad. I want to make that clear. He's a good starting edge, but only good. I don't necessarily feel great about putting him in foundational players. Nobody else in the defensive line would warrant that. Nick Bolton, I still think is a top 10 middle linebacker. I do feel that way. Foundational player. Suppose if you ask Spags that, he would feel that way. I don't know.
Spags love him. I get it.
How do you guys feel? Because Nick Bolton, we're not going to talk about. Would you guys consider Nick Bolton a foundational player?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
can't line your defense up without him. We ain't got nobody else to run the mic behind him, so yes.
Nick's a foundational player. I think
he has his weaknesses, but
he has his weaknesses, but Nick is still young enough to where he's still ascending.
For sure.
And I really think his weaknesses have improved in certain
slightly better.
Slightly. I know everybody kind of harps on his pass cover skills and things of that nature, but he wasn't terrible this year. Like I don't think he cost them anything,
No,
but
for sure.
He was never brought in maybe from my perspective, he was never brought in to do that. It was always calling defense and then getting everybody lined up.
That's the thing about it is for me is that at the end of the day, we know he has weaknesses, we know he has limitations, but the reason why those limitations and weaknesses have been accentuated the last 2 years is because we haven't had a will linebacker doing his job.
Exactly.
And again,
I'm not blaming that on Nick.
Again, Drew Tranquil, really good in his first year here, but he was really good because he was more of a pass coverage specialist that he was rotating in with Willie Gay Jr. And he's more athletic than the fact that he bulked up. He lost a lot of that speed, that sideline to sideline ability is a major piece of being a weak side linebacker in this league. And he lost his pass coverage ability. So that when you have, again, like we've talked about, you can have one linebacker that struggles with coverage. You can't have two. And that's just not tenable to be a good defense and try and get off the field. So that's the thing for me. So I'm cool with Nick Bolton being a foundational player. Then you get to the secondary, and obviously we have question marks about Trey McDuffie. I would not say that anybody in the safety room necessarily qualifies. We will talk about Jaden Hicks in a bit here. Would you consider Trey McDuffie to be a foundational player today?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you have to until, he ends up getting traded, which, we'll see what ends up happening as far as that's concerned. I'll be talking about that scenario next week.
If we make it to draft day, it's safe to say he ain't going nowhere. So.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, he would have to be traded. I would say that he would have to be traded within the month before free agency, so that they can have an idea of what they need to go for. So, I would say maybe even not franchise, month before free agency. So foundational players, we got Trey McDuffie, Nick Bolton, and Chris Jones, and then we've got Patrick Mahomes, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Josh Simmons.
Let's work.
I think I guess I don't know if you would want to have more than that, but I think that the glaring thing for me,
both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think the glaring thing for me is the shaky nature a little bit as far as the defensive guys. Obviously Trent McDuffie's contract status, and then Chris Jones's age, and then the weapons on offense. That would be the two glaring things having gone through that exercise for me. Anything from you guys that I'm missing to wrap it up, or we can go ahead and get to the review?
I think we got all the major players.
Yep. All right. That's good. Let's go ahead and get into our film review. So we each got an offensive player. We each got a defensive player. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit about two kind of quote unquote side characters. And these are guys that are pending for agents, possible trade candidates, and then also guys that are obviously signed to contracts. And really, I wanted to hit on kind of the pivot points, or the volatile guys, the ones that you have some real question marks about, because these are the guys that are not only going to inform the offseason plan for the Chiefs and what pathways they take a bit based on how you feel about them, but also going to inform how we feel about this team in the future, just in general. So the first one is Mr. Rashee Rice, and I'll go ahead and pull up the clip. But is there anything specifically you want to lead this off with before we go ahead and get into it?
I guess just like a quick overall. I know we started the year with suspension, obviously missed the first 6 games. Loved the way he came back in shape, ready to go. I think one of the clips I picked was from the Raiders game. I know the defense wasn't nothing to scarf about, but to be in shape, come back ready to go, locked in. He made a lot of plays in that game, not only from run after catch, but making plays down the field. I love the way he started the season. Didn't love the way he ended. I think there's a lot of mental drops, a lot of focus plays as far as attention to detail, running routes. I love the way he fought and battled and helped us win the Colts game. I think that was probably overall his best performance of the year against obviously good competition, but just still a lot is left to be desired as far as, like I said, attention to detail when it comes to route running, concentration drops at the end of games when we need you, especially on 3rd and 4th down. That Houston Texans game was very disappointing. Hate the way he left the locker room, didn't interview with the guys after he played bad. I think there's a lot. He left a lot on the bone. Obviously, a lot of things to be desired as far as overall play. I think he can still ascend to that level of being a top 15 receiver, in my opinion. I think all the talent is still there. I think his run after catch ability is still great. I think he just has to just refocus and re-hone in on his skills. And I think having guys like Coach O'Shea, Coach EB back in the building will help him more lock in and help guys be more accountable. So I think all the talent for Rashee is still there. So, but you can play the clips that we have.
I just have the Cowboys one. Was there anything else that you wanted to specifically show?
Nope, nothing crazy. I was just gonna. I mean, I think his best. I picked this play because this is his best ability, in my opinion, which is his run after catch. He's not the fastest guy, obviously. Rashee's a decent sized receiver. He's like 6'1", about probably like 195, 200 pounds. So he's a solid receiver, not gonna necessarily run away from anybody, but when you get him in a position where he can use his vision, which I think is one of his better skill sets, he can make guys miss and get first downs. And I think in this touchdown he did back home in Texas in this Cowboys game, I sent this clip to DG and DMac as soon as I said it. I'm like, this is the way he should be used every game. Get the ball in his hands immediately, whether it be bubble screen, tunnel screen, slants, run out the catch. Let him be turned into a running back when he does, because I think when he does that, he's one of the best guys in the league. So Rasheed is a very explosive player. He can make plays with the ball in his hands. I think we need to accentuate that more often in this offense and make that a primary, in my opinion. So there were too many drives I would see him not be a primary in our passing game. He would be like a secondary option and not getting him the ball in these shapes right here. We were putting him in the backfield too much. And I know you want to create mismatches, and I know that's the game, but if you're going to do that, you need to use guys with speed, in my opinion, more so than a guy like Rasheed. So I like him getting downhill with guys in front of him and let him just go be a receiver and run after catch. So I think he's one of the more special guys in the league when he does that. So I would love to see him get back to that more often next year, and I think EB is going to see that as well. So
I think the one thing that I'll say as far as this is concerned, and I'll spoil it too, is I agree that, you know, being able to use him in those aspects where he is getting the ball in his hands and being able to create things after the catch is the best use for him as of right now. But I would even say, because the idea of him being a wide receiver one, he's going to have to, you know, significantly improve on these things and then also be used the right way. But for him even to be a viable wide receiver too, we've got to see more of these sorts of things. And I specifically picked it out. These are all of the in-breaking routes that he had to the intermediate area of the field. And he could do this in a short area of the field too. And really, because of his yards after the catch, like you mentioned, be really good at it still. But he's got to get better and more consistent here. And then they've also got to use him. And that also includes getting better versus man-to-man coverage in general too. So for him to only have, and again, shortened season, all things considered, and obviously less time with Mahomes, you know, take that into account. But for him to only have 5 catches on in-breaking routes to the intermediate area of the field, that's a red flag to me, both for the usage, but also specifically for his skills. That's got to be something in structure that he can do. And to your point, in this Colts game, he caught this really crucial conversion. And these are the things that I think he can do more often, but he's got to get better and more consistent, and they've got to use him there for him to be a true real deal threat, one of the best wide receiver 2s in the league, or even a low end wide receiver 1, depending on how things shake out.
That play helped us win the game too. That deep cross.
Oh yeah.
So first, I think that was against Mooney, ironically.
Yep.
His man covered. I love the way he sold it too. He broke up field, got his stem, give himself room to separate, and then broke inside. And Pat put a beautiful ball on him. Then he went up there and made a play. So
these are the subtle little things.
Oh, no, that was Kenny Moore. My fault. Not Kenny Moore.
Yeah, and Kenny Moore is one of the best slot corners.
Slot corners in the league. Yeah.
These are the subtle little things that get you the physicality that he shows on this to get himself into the right position.
Get vertical.
Then sell it at the top and be able just to stem it out. And again, because your quarterback is Patrick LaVon Mahomes, you don't need a lot of space. You don't need a bunch of separation. He's going to be able to find it for you.
And then breaking tackles
but just those little nuances to be able to do that. And Rashee Rice is built. He's got the strength himself to be able to do these things over the middle of the field. It's not too much to ask of him. He's just got to be a little bit more consistent, get more comfortable with doing it to be able to open things up as well. And that's really the big thing for me. So, DG, you got any specific Rashee Rice thoughts?
I would say my biggest thought, especially, I'm going to end up talking about our other guy as well too, but they got to be used properly. This year, I think it was just malpractice the way that they were both used in this offense and not giving them, more opportunities to do things like this. You know his skill set, you know what he's capable of, especially once he gets the ball in his hands. And I really truly think when Rashee Rice has the ball in his hands after the catch, he's one of the better receivers in the league after the catch.
Yeah.
So do whatever it takes to make sure you get him free releases, to where he can get open in open space and do what he does best. I always kind of compare him, and I don't want people thinking that I think that they're on the same level, but I think that they have similar skill sets in the way that like the Bengals use Jamar Chase. And just sometimes you can literally tell Zach Taylor and them do whatever they can just to get the ball
in his
Jamar
hands.
Chase's hand.
Facts.
Just because of what he can do after the catch.
He turns to a running back when he gets the ball.
You know, so I think Rashee Rice kind of has that similar skill set. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me with you doing the things that you're trying to, lining him up in the backfield and doing all this gadgety other, like, bro, that makes no sense. He's a receiver.
Just put him in the slot. Let him go to work.
Use him as a receiver and let him do his job. You know, I think Andy and them sometimes, and I don't know how much Matt Nagy had a part in this, but you overcomplicate things when you try to get these guys to do things that they're not really used to doing, you know, or whatever. And just let your receivers be your receivers. Let the running backs be the running backs.
Facts.
You know, that's my only
and use the guys in the running back room who can catch the ball and do those gadgety stuff. Yeah. Let your receivers be your receivers.
From Rasheed's basis, man, stay out of trouble off the field. Like you gotta stay out of trouble.
I was trying to stay away from that, but just stay locked in, bro.
It has to be brought up because at this point, you're going into your last year of your rookie deal. You're now you're probably not gonna get paid now because you've been in suspension, you've been hurt. We don't kind of know what's gonna happen going. Hopefully this all goes, you know, the news kind of goes away, which it seems like it kind of has died down or whatever. But at the same time, like you've kind of messed up your next contract because now we don't know what your market truly is. You don't have enough stats for us to say that you can be compared to this guy. And I was listening to a segment with Karen Harrison in The Drive, and Joe Corey was kind of speaking on where he thinks his market would be in being close to like a Jameson Williams kind of contract. But it's like I haven't gotten Jameson Williams production from you.
Facts.
You know? Like,
the 1 year you were supposed to do it, you got hurt. Then the next year you were suspended. So it's like you killed 2 of your seasons in one thing. So yeah.
So now
I think if Rashee Rice is healthy, I agree with DG. I think he can be a top 15 receiver in this league if he stays on the field, gets the targets, and is focused on what he can do and he's used properly. I think he can do that. Obviously, can he be a true wide receiver one? To DMac's point, I think he's like a back end wide receiver one. Like he's not like I kind of did like a little talk on Spaces on Twitter. We ranked our tiers of receiver ones. We did like tier ones are like the Jamar, Jettas, the AJ, the CDs, guys that can play on any team, any roster. They're the wide receiver one. Doesn't matter where they go. Then we looked at like tier 2 guys. They could be a wide receiver one or like maybe like half the league. And then like the tier 3 wide receiver ones are guys, they're probably wide receiver one on their team, maybe a couple of others, but that's about it. They're not really too many other positions they could be a wide receiver one. As of today, I would put Rashee in that tier 3 category. He can be our wide receiver one if used properly. And maybe a couple other teams have given the opportunity, but not that many situations for him. Does he deserve an extension this offseason? I'm going to go with DG. I'm going to say no. I don't think he showed me enough. I think the off-field concerns are also an issue as well. So I think before the season, he was in position to, hey, if he has a great, obviously he missed 6 games, so he was only going to get 11 out of the 17. If he had a great 11-game stretch and we made to the playoffs and he had a great performance, maybe he could have a debate, hey, should we just pay him now and get it out the way? But based off the way the season ended and the way he's played and obviously his off-field concerns, I would say no, the contract's off the table for me. So right now I would say he's essentially like DG said in a contract year. You have to go out there and perform or you're not going to get that $25 million payday plus that receivers usually are going to get on the market. So I think he's in a good position to do so. There's nothing motivates a player better than the contract year. We always said it, like the great Therese Paylor said, contract year is undefeated. So if Rashee Rice wants to get it back, he has to have a great year this year and more so stay out of trouble for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would almost say that
it's like non-negotiable.
Yeah. I mean, there was an opportunity for him to,
for sure,
to get to be enticing, I'll say, to be enticing for a, you know, kind of a discounted deal, you know, and try and get him out of value. Sure. But the fact that he had the offseason issues that he had, it's almost like, well, I don't know if I really want to do that. So like it's the multiple things that are stacking up against him right now. But if he puts himself in a position to be good on the field next year, then he can. And I think that's the other frustrating part of it is that the usage of him this year compared to last year, I think was different. They didn't get enough of these opportunities that you saw from him, specifically in this Falcons game, that I was really impressed by with how they decided to deploy him.
And they were spamming him in this game too. I was at this game. Yeah. He got so many targets early.
We were both at this game. I mean, he was.
Look at all these plays. 1, 2, 3.
Right. He was everywhere. It felt like there was a concerted effort to get him the ball, but not just the bubble screen thing over and over again. It was, hey, we're going to use him on some drag routes. We're going to get him on some sail routes. We're going to get him on some nice little zig routes. Yes. We're going to get him in good opportunities to get the ball and then run after catch. So I think that was the more disappointing thing. I wanted this season to look more like this from the usage standpoint, and it just didn't. So take that for what it is. Obviously, that's a larger non-Rashee Rice issue, but he's got his own things from a personal development standpoint on and off the field that he's got to take care of to be in a position to take advantage of those things too. So that's kind of the Rashee Rice conversation. I completely just ignored the questions that we wanted to answer.
Sorry, guys, my bad.
No, that was my fault. I didn't do a good job as the facilitator. Can he be a future true number one wide receiver? You still think that ceiling exists, CJ?
I think everything is still there for him. He ended the season healthy. Obviously, we know he had a big knee injury at the end of this year last year, so he ended the season healthy. I didn't like the drops. I think those things can be corrected. When we did need him in big moments outside the Houston game, ironically, he showed up, like you said, that Colts game, which was essentially a must-win for our season on the line. He made big plays after us. I think he finished with 140 yards that game, if I'm not mistaken. So he's played big for us in big moments over the last 2 years. We've seen him show up in the Super Bowl. We've seen him show up in playoff runs. So Rashee Rice, when the lights are the brightest, and that's kind of when you judge players, DG, like how do they perform when we need to have you, and it's got to have it. He's done that before. Now the biggest thing is, can we get the consistency? Can I get a full 15? Can I get a full 16 games of you dominating, because before the season, most of us had expectations of 1,200 yards, 10 plus touchdowns. If he can do that, he's going to put himself in a position to be that wide receiver one and get that 25 plus market money. Everything's in front of him. If he can go take the job and dominate this year, everything's in front of him.
Yeah, I'm mad at that all. All right. Let's see ultimately what we got as far as let me see. All right, I'm gonna pull up Mr. Jalen Moore here. Yeah. All right. So I was responsible for Jalen Moore. And just kind of asking, how was he at left tackle? Then can you pencil him at right tackle moving forward? And I think it's important just to kind of, as an overview, there were some aspects of him. I would say that he got hit by some power in the Washington and Buffalo games, which were the ones that he started at left tackle. The first two games versus Detroit and Vegas were pretty good, in my opinion, and I thought that he showed an ability to adjust. And then as far as right tackle goes, which is the games that we're going to be looking at specifically, I think that he struggled versus Dallas and Houston, and he was good versus the Chargers overall. And we'll go through these kind of to give a little bit of context. The first one here, him and Caliendo are kind of going to get mixed up here on a stunt. And ultimately, this is a big piece of he's normally supposed to be playing next to Trey Smith, and the fact that he wasn't, I think, can change some of these things, and obviously not just from a physicality standpoint, but just also the chemistry. I think will be a big key of it here. But they got to be better versus twists and stunts, and this was a bad rep from Caliendo. And I actually, not gonna lie, Jalen Moore probably does a pretty good job at passing this off. He just doesn't get outside because he realized that Caliendo has no idea what's going on. So Trey Smith won't have those necessarily issues, but they got to get better as far as that will happen. And then, like I talked about, he did get shocked a little bit by some power. I think Azaraku got him pretty well here with that long arm to his chest. And yes, I'm including the Patrick Mahomes play just so you guys can admire that part of it. But Azaraku got him with the long arm, and we did see some aspects, and he had this at left tackle versus Washington, where if you got his hand, into his chest, then he could get shocked back. It's not necessarily an anchor issue; it's more so they can get off balance every once in a while. Here versus Clowney, just didn't have a really good get off, and his feet aren't necessarily slow, but they're not quick. So there are times, as far as the get off is concerned, that it could be a little bit of an issue as well. I would say that in the Houston game, they gave him a good deal of help at right tackle, which in my personal opinion is not a bad thing, because ultimately when this offensive line is whole, you should be able to slide.
Probably the best pass rush in the league.
Well, yeah, that also too. You're going to
if you're going to give help, I would hope it's this game.
Yeah, but I would say specifically for the team moving forward, you expect that the left tackle, the right guard is going to be pretty well set. You don't necessarily have to help any one of those guys on a consistent basis. You can give more help to Jalen Moore and make him a valuable right tackle, in my opinion. And I think that is important to mention. But obviously, they're going up against Neil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. for a lot of this, and that rep was generally fine. But again, a little bit quicker of a get off wouldn't hurt ultimately. And this one is just showing again he has a good anchor and he's difficult to move, so it's going to be tough to just straight up beat him with power a lot of the time. Like Will Anderson Jr. obviously is a really good speed to power guy. He does try and get there, but Jalen Moore does a good job kind of reestablishing and pushing him off the arc, and it gives Patrick Mahomes a pretty solid pocket to be able to get the ball off ultimately. But there's also the other aspect of he understands what he's got to do a lot of the times, and he's able to absorb a lot of power and push guys up the arc. And I think that's an important skill, obviously, to have a right tackle in general. Another key part, because he hasn't played a lot of NFL, at NFL football, but just in general, that the hand usage is inconsistent still. And there were times in which Will is going to get him throughout this game, just being able to get him in the right place. And you could tell he kind of catches him with that outside arm.
What
and
up,
Will
Lenny?
What up,
what's up, Lenny? It should be mentioned here. We're talking about evaluating him versus Will Anderson Jr., who was, I should say, this past year, the second best edge rusher in the National Football League and is a monster. So I want to be very clear about that, as we saw in the playoff game versus New England.
Dog.
What he did to Will Campbell. So, but he did get up under his hand on that outside punch, was able to lift him up and be able to get around the edge here as far as this rep was concerned as well. And again, you saw a little bit that the hand usage was a little bit inconsistent enough, and then he does an all right enough job to be able to still push him up the arc. But again, you see it's kind of a repeating pattern. Will's going to catch that hand, get that outside hand, and get under it as well. But again, still, he does show some good reps versus Will in being able to shut off some of that outside stuff as well. And if you can get him with speed because he's not an elite athlete, but if you don't necessarily get him, then it's going to be very difficult to just get straight through him. Even so, if you get him off balance, he's not an incredible athlete. So to recovery is not going to be exceptional as far as that is concerned as well. I think there was one other one, hopefully, that I wanted to show, but I don't know if it's going to be in here. I wanted to show a little bit just how good it was when he took an aggressive set, when he really jumped out at these guys and was able to create that extra space, but I don't know if it's in this one. It may be in this one. I thought that similar when he was with the 49ers, when they allowed him to play with that aggressive set, it really put him in a good position to be able to kind of limit what the pass rusher had as far as options were concerned, especially if he was able to time that up with the snap count. So that's kind of my general thoughts on Jalen Moore. And to answer the questions, I mean, I thought he was okay at left tackle, backup, certainly, starter quality, or I should say good backup quality at left tackle, but ultimately at right tackle, I think that he can play there and be a starter, A, because of what the rest of the line looks like, but B, because of what you saw a little bit better as far as the hand usage. That development with experience, I think, will come with time. And then, again, not an elite athlete, going to have some recovery issues, but I think versus non-Will Anderson Jr. rushers, you're going to see that he has, some pretty good success, even despite some of the limitations. So I would still want to bring in a veteran tackle, and we'll talk about that as far as choose your own off season, but for him to be the starting right tackle going to next year would not be a bad thing, in my personal opinion. You guys got anything you want to add as far as Jalen Moore is concerned?
No, I agree. I never really expected him to be an all pro or
lights out, nothing.
Lights out play. I just wanted him, I think
just be solid.
The plan was always, to come in and just be serviceable. And I think that at left, it was a little bit of a struggle. And I think at right, he's obviously a league average starter at right tackle. So and I think that's the spot that's probably best for him moving forward on this line. I think that in a pinch, in a game, if you need him to, switch over, be your left tackle for that game, I think he can do that as well. He's capable. But I was honestly pleased with what Jalen Moore brought to us this year. He saved us in a lot of games, and we obviously needed him in. and he did his job. At the end of the day, that's the only thing I can really ask out of him or whatever. So I thought he lived up to what they paid him or what they were paying him for this year and moving forward. So I'm perfectly fine with him being a part of this team going forward.
For sure. He could be the starting right tackle for me. After we got him on a 2-year deal, so not expensive, serviceable, not great, but not awful either. So obviously some room to improve. But we all know blocking for a guy like Patrick Mahomes is a very stressful job. It's probably the hardest quarterback to block for in the league. So I think he did his job to the best of his ability. I think he performed well when we needed him to on both sides of the ball, left and right. So I think obviously once we get everyone back healthy, we're rolling next year, another year of exposure. Obviously, Jalen's used to the system. He's used to Pat. Obviously, Coach Andy Heck and everybody else knows what his strengths and weaknesses are as well because we have tape on him in our system. I think he's primed to have a solid year next year for sure. So I think just everybody else around him. And I think the biggest question mark coming into the season obviously was Kingsley more so than Josh because we all knew Josh could play. We just didn't know what he was going to look like health-wise. But Kingsley played great. So, I mean, if we're getting that play out of him and Josh on the left side, which those guys had more questions than Jalen Moore coming into the season. If Jalen Moore is our biggest question on the O-line next year, I'm perfectly fine going into the season with him as a starter. So, yeah, I think we're in a good spot O-line-wise. Much better than we were a year ago for sure.
Yeah, wherever you want to place it, and I'll talk about, really the big piece of being in a better spot than last year. But if Jalen Moore, like you said, is your worst offensive lineman, then I think that you're not only in a good spot, but I think you possibly could be in a great spot as well. How things end up looking.
I think we were top 5 in pass pro when we had all of our starters out there last year.
Yeah.
Like Josh, Kingsley, Trey, Creed, and Jawan. So
they were not the issue, and I think that ultimately there were aspects of the offensive scheme, specifically as far as the run game is concerned, that even did a disservice to being able to highlight just how good they were last year. Before we get into the DGs talking about Xavier Worthy specifically, shout out to PMac, obviously from the Magruder Files, doing every single Friday night talking here on Kingdom Cast, talking about O'Shea working with the 2025 issues with the wide receivers, the detail aspect of route precision, the ability to be press coverage, which is again the released details as well, red zoning and contested catch drills. Look, I think that those are the things that Chris is going to bring to the table in addition to the game plan week in, week out. That's going to help not only Rashee Rice, but also Xavier Worthy as well. As of which, go ahead, DG, and talk a little bit about Mr. Xavier Worthy.
Uno.
Love the clips as well.
Yeah, kind of an underwhelming year for one Xavier Worthy, especially coming off the rookie year previously, where he flashed and showed what he really is capable of. Didn't get off to a great start. Brazil, I think, really kind of ruined some things. Shout out to Travis Kelce for that. But ultimately, I think the early injury early on in the year, I think it interrupted his role in this offense and the chemistry that he was building, with Pat going to this, this season. I don't think it ultimately affected him physically at first. But then I think that other injury, the ankle injury, was what ultimately, kind of derailed. Kind of derailed what he's really capable of on this offense. So, and his abilities as well too. The speed necessarily wasn't there as much this year. I think, a lot of that had to do with him basically playing on a swollen ankle every week, very much. So I applaud his toughness. Nobody can ever say that Xavier Worthy's not a tough guy. That was a big question coming out of Texas: is can he handle the physicality of this league? Will he be available? Will he prove that to you this year? Being available through pretty much an injury that are pretty much in a lot of guys this season, and playing through that. So, glad he got the surgery. Moving forward, probably should have had it a little bit earlier. I think once the season was kind of a waste, but credit to him to still go that route. To still go out there and be willing to put it on the line for his guys, and that just kind of shows the heart that he has. So You just want to move into the questions, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the question for Xavier Worthy is, I'll say that quickly. I mean, you kind of mentioned it. I mean, the ankle clearly took away a little bit of what he could do from an acceleration standpoint later on in the year, I would say specifically. And obviously, we know early on, I think he was very tentative about just getting hit in general, which again, understandable given the injury that he was playing with as well. The question that I really wanted you to answer is what do you think is the best way to use him moving forward? And you could talk about obviously XYZ as far as the wide receivers, but in general, how do you think that he needs to be maximized within this offense?
I think he's your Z. If Rashid's going to be your X and kind of power slot guy, I think that Xavier is obviously your secondary option behind him, and especially I think he can play in the slot as well too. He's best when you can get him going vertically, but I also think that Xavier, they didn't do a good job of using his abilities and what he's actually really good at. People don't understand, bro. Xavier Worthy is a really good route. You have to let him do that. I understand he's very fast, and but I didn't like how Andy kind of delegated him to the old Tyreek Hill role when he was here in his first couple years in this offense. Like, it's not the same kind of player, I know Xavier's fast and everything like that, whatever. Tyreek was just a different breed of what he was capable of doing. I think there was a lot more versatility there as far as being able to put Tyreek in the backfield, the jet sweeps, the things of that nature, and doing that. And I'm not saying that Xavier can't do that, but I think you have to truly legitimately use him as a wideout in this offense. We've seen, hopefully you can find does that play against the Texans right there?
Yes.
Can you run one of those?
Which one specifically? Sorry.
The
one where he got open versus the last.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is teach tape for Xavier of how to use Xavier Worthy. This is what you have to let him do. This is what he does best, man. Just allow him to run routes, especially against man. And I think he's one of the most lone receivers on this team that can beat man-to-man coverage if you allow him to do it. He did it all in Texas, and that was one of the bigger reasons I think he went early in the first rounds or whatever. So, secondary option. I do think the injuries did derail a lot of things that they wanted to do with him this year, but I also think that they didn't use him correctly in a lot of spots. I think that the things to improve on, spatial awareness, for sure. There were a couple times, especially that Denver game, I know a lot of people harped on him about being out of bounds and things of that nature. And I think a lot of people have to still understand Xavier Worthy's still a very young player, and still learning, this game at this level. The spacing for college, from college to pro, is a lot different. So I'm willing to give him some grace on that. I'm not saying that he doesn't have to improve on it, because he definitely does. But I think he vastly improved on it more this year than he did, than he had his rookie year or whatever. But he's got to be used correctly.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and it's a shame. I'm trying to find the specific one, but that one you pointed out, I don't know, maybe it's this one. No, it's not that one. The one you pointed out to versus Kamari Lassiter, and he also had one versus Stingley in this game. I think this is it. The ability, again, like you said, people do not understand. I understand he's fast. He is fast, and he's slender, etc. He's not a deep threat necessarily. That's not necessarily the best way to optimize him. You can do that. Don't get me wrong. You can do that, but it's the speed that sets up the intermediate aspect for him, because he gets up on defenders' toes so quickly. And in the case of Lassiter and Stingley that you saw, he then is able to create separation off of that because they're, unsettled in what they're trying to do. Lassiter in that case is in trail trying to catch up with him, and all Worthy has to do is stem out and be able to come back, and he's automatically creating separation. Mahomes delivers on time. Versus Stingley, he's able to get that inside release and then gives a little stem inside and break outside. He's going to beat Stingley to the sideline and Mahomes hits him. So, and then this one is the one that because I was trying to find it, he double catches this one, but it's the perfect ability to look at it because because of the speed. That corner is basically almost in a dead sprint by the time that Xavier Worthy is decelerating. And he decelerates with this level of separation. And ultimately, Mahomes, because of the timing, knows when he wants to get this ball to Xavier Worthy, and he delivers it in plenty of time and separation. And honestly, if Xavier Worthy catches the ball cleanly, he probably is in there for a touchdown. But these are the things, because of Xavier Worthy's speed, it automatically threatens every corner that he's going after. And because his acceleration is good enough to be able to get on their toes quickly enough, he can create that separation off of that. So again, not necessarily the deep threat, but want to see this more consistently and being able to use him in these areas, because that's where he really can thrive. And like you said, I would say that the good comp is Jameson Williams, because Jameson Williams, because of his speed and acceleration, he can get down the field. We know that. And he's better at Xavier Worthy than that as well. And that's the reason why he was a higher first-round pick. But it's also the aspect of he can do the runaway routes across his tracks, etc. But more specifically, he can also be a real threat in the intermediate areas because of that speed opens things up for him that way, and maybe a way that his strength necessarily wouldn't. And that's the thing for me. You got to be able to get a higher usage rate out of him in that aspect and really highlight his strengths too.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it as far as Xavier Worthy. Yeah, that was really the question of how to maximize him, and I think we definitely agree that he's a Z in this offense moving forward.
Let him be a fucking receiver.
It's a big bounce back year for 1 and 4, man. Don't worry.
Yeah. Let him be a receiver, bro. Like I can't slice it any other way. Like if Andy even was to ask me like any thoughts or questions of how I felt about this season, like let your receivers be receivers. Yes. Like
it's still EGE. I know all y'all niggas switched up and it's cool. But when they bounce back, I don't want to hear none of that flip-flopping, DMac. Yeah. Tell them stay on that side. It's EGE. Still.
Then play your other receiver. Play the kid you actually drafted to play receiver. I still don't understand the red shirt year for Jalen Royals. That made no sense.
Don't worry. We coming back.
And obviously the other thing is like just use these guys as real wide receivers, man. That's all I can ask.
Run the routes down the field, please. And my thing is the thing that make me and DG so passionate about this, and DMac too. We have gadget guys. You have Brashard Smith to do all that stuff. You don't need to use Rasheed Rice in the backfield. You don't got to do that with Xavier Worthy. Let those guys run the routes. If you want to do gadget tricky stuff, I'm fine with that. You got Brashard Smith for that. That's what you drafted him for. A guy who played running back and receiver, who has the feel and nuance to playing both positions. So let your receivers run the routes. And then if you want to use Brashard Smith, play him. You have him to do all those fun Andy Reid stuff he likes to do. But let the receivers be the receivers, like DG said.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll see. And again, that comes back to the system and things that we have to talk about as far as this coaching staff is concerned. Next one, Trent McDuffie flipping over to the defensive side of the ball. And the questions that we kind of had as far as Trent McDuffie was concerned, coming off of what I thought was another good year for Trent, but not as good of a year as you maybe would have hoped. And again, given to a lot of circumstances, and obviously as he is now coming up on his 4th year, it will be, accepting the 5th year. Question is, CJ, for you, is he worth $30 million at nickel or outside cornerback? And where exactly do you think that he should play as far as that is concerned?
Do I think Trent McDuffie is worth $30 million? Yes. That's the going market for corners nowadays, because obviously you always got to think about what is Trent McDuffie worth on the market? If we didn't decide to pay him, would he get that money? Yes, from somebody else. So I do think he's worth the money. Now, I do agree in our system specifically, I don't mind him being an outside corner. I just think if you had an honest conversation with Trent, he would tell you he wants to be a predominantly outside corner, and I understand that. But to get the most out of you for this defense specifically, I need you to be a movable piece to where you can play inside. Because your best season was when you played next to Snead, you were playing your reps half inside, half outside. And when you have that flexibility in your defense, it makes us that much better. Because like I always say, where's most of the money made in the NFL? It's in the middle of the field. I'm all good for having a shutdown corner that can play outside. That's great. That's usually what the NFL was built on for the standard. But in today's game, if you can't cover the middle of the field with either a really good slot corner or a really good safety who can cover nickels and tight ends in that position, then you're going to struggle. And I think Trent McDuffie, when he's playing in the slot, is one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. When we talk about Trent McDuffie, Kenny Moore from the Colts, we lost earlier, Cooper DeJean from Philadelphia. Help me out, DG. Who's some other slot corners? Teron Johnson from Buffalo. Those are like some of the guys I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, Kenny Moore, like he's in that class. And I think when he's playing, he's the best guy in the middle of the field. So having that ability changes things because when you don't have him lined up in the middle, and more so for our defense, because we didn't have a guy in the middle of the field that we trusted to play in that spot consistently. Well, we did have a guy we liked, but he didn't get the snaps. And then we did like Christian Roland Wallace until the injury, unfortunately. But full time, when Trent McDuffie was in the slot 2 years ago with Snead, there was nobody better, in my opinion. And I think he's that good. So in his mind, he wants to be a full-time outside corner. But to get the best out of you for this group, we need you to be flexible. And we need you to play 60-40 in the slot based off the matchups. Because we see teams with great tight ends and great slot receivers. And you can essentially either have great games or shut those guys down. And I'm not knocking them for having a bad game against CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. That was arguably the best receiver combo in the league this year. He had a great year. And some of those calls were a little ticky-tacky. But outside of that, Trent McDuffie has performed well, in my opinion, to get an extension. I think he's worthy of it. I want to see him used properly. That's the theme among other guys we've talked about up to this point. But I do think he's deserving of an extension. I would like to see a discount DMac. If I can get 26, 25 AAV, I'm fine with that. But if they give him for 30, I'm not mad at it. I hope we get a discount, but I got to be realistic. So.
Yeah, I mean, getting a discount in I guess would be a little bit.
That'd be best case scenario.
Yeah, but I mean, it's clear the best place to put him is nickel. The question mark is money wise, career wise, is he willing to play that? I don't know
exactly.
And if they decide to commit to him long term, would then be would that give him the security to do so? I don't know, but I think it's a fascinating conversation to say, hey, we have this guy and we know how important the nickel is in modern defenses. Obviously, you see what Kyle Hamilton is doing for the Ravens defense. You see what Nick Warrior is doing for the Seattle Seahawks defense. Quinn Lake for Quinn Lake, I should say, for the Rams defense. Like the best defense, Jalen Petrie for the Texans defense. And there's a little bit
even in the Super Bowl, Marcus Jones, Nick Warrior. You got to have a guy in the middle of the field.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a theme there with more safeties necessarily than true corners. Yeah. But Trent McDuffie is so good at defending the run.
He tackles well. He can play.
Yeah, he can do that thing. So it's like, hey,
I know you want to be the guy, but
right. I know you want to be the outside guy, and don't get me wrong, you could do that, and you could do that versus a lot of those matchups. But man, we're not getting the maximum value out of you, in my personal opinion. And I think that unfortunately we saw in a few of these matchups that it was just he got beat a little bit too often outside for me to feel great about that as far as that is concerned. So, and then the second question therefore is, possibility of contract extension aside, this is going to be the conversation, and the Rams, has come up a lot. But what would it take for you to move Trent McDuffie as far as you're concerned, CJ?
I mean, we've had all of our fun mocks we've done. I've seen PFF. I've seen PFFN. I've seen a whole bunch of other draft sites. I've seen the ranges of we can get a first and a third for Trent. I've seen some packages where we get a second and a third for Trent. Like I said, best case scenario, if I can get any package that includes a first round pick, and we're talking 23, 29, a lot of these teams on the back end that need a corner, a la LA, a la the Commanders, a lot of other teams that need corner help. I'm fine with that if we can get a first round package. If I can't get a first round included in the package, I would like to get some combination of 2 picks in the top 100. I think a second and a third would suffice. If I had to get a second and a fourth, I'm not mad at it. I would prefer it to be in the third as well to get in the top 100. But I would like the trade to be something along those lines. A first round pick would be great. If I didn't get it, but I got a package of a second and a third or a second and a fourth, I'd be fine with that as well. That's kind of like my gauge of like trading Trent McDuffie trade packages. So,
I'll say for me, and and I have I guess a higher view for this, but Trent McDuffie is a blue chip piece in my personal opinion. We just did the foundational players thing. To me, I would need either a mid-tier first round pick, a la the AJ Brown trade for the Titans. Whether that's the Cowboys giving you the teens pick or I think they have 13.
14.
The Rams giving you, I guess, 11. That may be a little bit too pricey. You may have to like throw a fifth round or whatever to balance it out. I would either need that straight up, or if you're going to give me a pick in the 20s, whether it's 23 or 29, then I would need like a third round pick on top of it. That would just be me personally. And everybody's line is different. DG, you can chime in if you have one different, but that's where I would place Trent McDuffie's value personally. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm fine with paying and keeping him. But again, coming to the conversation of where you got to play for me to maximize your value personally.
Yeah.
DG, you have
I don't think he would get a massive haul. But I do think it's worth you if you're going to trade him. You at least have to get maybe a first or second round pick in one of those picks.
If we get a top 15 pick, that'd be best case scenario.
Best case scenario is that you probably end up getting a top 15 pick, or I ultimately assume that if you were going to trade and maybe getting a first round and a pick later in the back of that round or whatever, somewhere in the 20s or something like that. I think that's probably the most logical scenario for him as far as a first round pick being. But I wouldn't be thrilled about a second round, but I wouldn't be upset at it either, especially if it comes with multiple picks afterwards as well. Too.
Yeah. If it's a second round pick, like I need it to be like
a haul
tops of the second round, and then
like in that 30s range.
I probably need another second rounder on top of
it. For sure.
At least
like that like a package for sure.
I
would assume it'd be high second round and then multiple future second or third or something like that. That comes with it as well too. I'm not gonna get Trent McDuffie. I'm not gonna give you Trent McDuffie just for nothing. But ultimately, I tend to think that something's gonna get done. Just because
your extension or something. Yeah.
We haven't heard too much from Veach about that possibility of getting rid of him. And exploring that. Although they've obviously veered into different directions. They have a chance and opportunity to do whatever they want to do. But I would hope that McDuffie would see his role here and what he can be capable of for the foreseeable future. I know, obviously you see the Sauce Gardners and the Stingley's of the world. JC Horns, they got paid and things of that. And I can't blame McDuffie at all. That's the route that he wants to take. But ultimately, I don't know if that's going to happen here, and that's just the nature of the business. I think you've seen that with Snead. You've seen that with Travarius Ward previously. So I think it's really in your hands of how you want to handle it at this point. Do you want to be the highest paid guy, or do you want to be one of the highest paid guys on the better team? Because you can go be the highest paid guy
for sure. On the market,
might not be on the greatest team in the world
for sure.
So it is what it is, man. This is future. If that's the case, I'm not mad at Trent McDuffie at all. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he deserves to get paid. And hopefully that can be something that can be worked out. But this is a business, and you gotta do what's best for you.
Just for transparency, if they did decide to move on from him, you can create like what 13 to 14 million cap space if they did decide to move off of him. So that's the kind of the play around money they would have. And I know we're in the red. I think we're in the red like 45 M's, and that's before the Mahomes restructure, Jawan Taylor being cut, all that. But just for money-wise perspective, if you did decide to move off Trent, it's like 13 and a half, 14 mil cap space save. So
the option gives you a chance to figure something out. You know,
if I had to bet, I think he stays, but Trey's not off the table for sure.
Yeah, it will have a lot of talk as far as the cap aspect is concerned. Obviously, for choose your own offseason, we'll be going through a cap
all
sheet
the scenarios.
Look at that as well. Let's go ahead and go to Jalen Watson, his cornerback counterpart. This is just a few looks at some of the plays I thought were kind of worthwhile talking about as far as the Eagles game was concerned. And you saw in that first one, A.J. Brown was able to beat him with some physicality in the slant, which obviously we saw with George Pickens versus the Cowboys as well. But we know what Jalen Watson brings to the table, the outside ability, again, can play on that vertical plane and eliminate some of these routes you see at the bottom of the screen. He does a good job versus Smitty. I know they threw a flag. They picked up that flag too because it was a bad flag. It's just some of the short intermediate, the short in breaking stuff can get them, as you just saw versus AJ Brown, and we again like you saw versus the Cowboys and George Pickens. But you're getting a good corner, a guy that is able to play the ball pretty well, does clamp down, certainly plays a run very well, is pretty good at the line of scrimmage. It's just not necessarily a great corner. And I think that his market is interesting given the fact PFF put it, at 14 mil a year, or ESPN put it at 14 mil a year.
He's like 12 on PFF.
Yeah, PFF had it at 12 mil a year. So, it's nothing crazy as far as that's concerned. Yeah, it's a decent market ultimately. It'll be interesting to see where things progress for him. But the questions that I had was just how much was he in fact worth on the open market. I think they'll go a little bit conservative. I think he's more of like a $15 million a year corner, which then I think that's a fair place to this point pinpoint him. And then the other question is, would you be fine trading McDuffie and keeping him? And the answer for me is yes. I think that if you, and I'll be exploring this pathway specifically next week, but if you traded McDuffie for the right package, as I mentioned, certainly, and where I would place that bar, you re-sign Jalen Watson, let's say again for like $15 million a year, and your top, four corners are Watson, Noel, and Christian Fulton, and see.
Or CRW,
day 3 draft pick, CRW, and CRW could play the nickel. I think that's a good pathway forward, but I think it is also important that you do find that next nickel. And there are some guys that I'll talk about as good candidates for it as far as draft is concerned. There are some interesting guys as far as free agency is concerned, but you got to really have an answer for that outside of just saying, hey, we're probably going to have Chris Wallace do this moving forward too. So the idea of trading McDuffie, keeping Jalen Watson, I think is fine from a cornerback perspective, but you really have to be able to answer that question from the nickel. To be fair, you may have to answer that question from the nickel regardless if you keep McDuffie too. So that's my general thoughts. You guys got anything on Jalen Watson you want to add?
No. Obviously he's going to get paid.
He had a great year.
Yeah, he deserves it as well too. I would agree with your opinion as far as like if you're gonna move on from McDuffie, then you definitely have to try to do what you can to bring Jalen Watson back, and I don't think that'll be a too expensive price tag. But obviously you're giving up a lot as far as if you're willing to move on from McDuffie, because now although Jalen Watson's a great boundary corner, he can't play the slot, so. You got to figure that out. So, we'll see
and I would say none of those guys can play the slot specifically.
Yeah,
for real. And right now, I think this team is probably best suited the way it's constructed. Obviously, this is before draft and free agency, to keep Trent and let Jalen Watson walk. Given the fact you have Fulton, Noel going into a sophomore year, we expect Christian Wallace to be back healthy next year. You have multiple options you could do as far as outside, allowing guys like Trent and Christian Wallace to play that slot like we want them to more often. So I think we're in a better position to let Jay Watt walk. But if they did go with that scenario on DMac's point, you would have to be a lot more aggressive as far as getting a nickel guy in the draft or more so in free agency. But I think, yeah, realistically, I think probably Trent stays and Jay Watt goes if I had to guess right now.
Yeah, fair enough. So with that being said, as far as Jalen Watson is concerned, we can go in and get to the last guy for our reviews, Mr. Jaden Hicks. DG, go ahead and take it away as far as your Jaden Hicks idea.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
Don't worry, DG. The breakout year is coming. Spags just don't know.
I'm trying to tame my thought process.
And show that play in the Raiders game too.
Because where do I start?
Gather your thoughts. Take your time.
Where do I start?
This is a safe space.
It's very frustrating. Very, very, very frustrating. To say the least. I think Jaden Hicks' role this year wasn't very defined. I don't know what really changed from year one to year two. It really pissed me off when Spags got on the podium and basically stated it's because of the mistakes or whatever that he's making. And then I go and watch plays like this, and what are you talking about? You know, and maybe it's from a communication aspect or whatever, and that's something I understand, you know, for a year two guy, you know, to expect him to be this elite communicator, I think it's kind of a wild expectation, if you ask me. But how do you watch this week in and week out? Like, and this is probably one of my favorite plays this year. Like, the amount of field that he can cover, the fact that he solely last year was he led you in interceptions. You know,
unlimited play.
He can create turnovers for you, and you don't play him. He's one of your better cover safeties, but yet you decided this year that Shamari Connor deserved more time than him when we saw Shamari Connor make so many mistakes
over and over again. You know, and I'm not saying Jaden is perfect, you know, like I never stated that in any form or fashion, but we've obviously seen the capabilities of what he can do cover wise. And if I know eventually DMac's going to get to the play against the Raiders.
I'll play right now. Don't worry, we can pick that up right now. We can go ahead. We can let it run. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's got the size and the strength. He's willing to tackle.
Such a great play, bro. That's textbook, bro.
I really think he's got that dog mentality you want out of your safeties. You want your safeties a little tad bit crazy. And I think he brings all of that. And just it doesn't make sense to me why he didn't play a lot more this year. You know, maybe you could say it's the eye discipline. Maybe you could say it's the communication. But frankly, if I'm speaking freely, I don't give a fuck. Max, you know, like I don't care. Play him. You know, if he's creating plays like this for you,
look at all the games. Look at everybody.
Like, yeah, when you had other guys in that safety room that didn't do this, you know, like Brian Cook, I like those guys. They didn't do this year, you know. Like, and it doesn't make any sense. So moving forward, my hope and prayer is that Steve Spagnuolo gets his head out of his ass and realizes that this kid actually has talent and should be on the field a lot more, or Jaden Hicks is going to be one of those other players that plays here for 4 years and he goes to a different team and he balls out and we be sitting
how do you let him go?
How the fuck we let him go? You know?
Yeah, he would be I do want to accentuate this. Like, this is a heck of a play.
This is an elite
to
play,
go
bro.
from within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and rotate late into the deep half safety and to be able to flip your hips multiple times and then to not be looking at the ball. Yeah, to not be looking at the ball and being able to get back here for the pass breakup and diving to do so. Just an incredible play by Jaden Hicks. And again, it shows that he has that level of upside as well. I mean, these are some of the plays from his rookie year too. But like, I don't know whether it is a true strong safety role for him. I don't know if it's, which again, I think he can do. I don't know if it's even that you think he maybe could be the answer at nickel, which I would say that he has a better chance of doing than Shamari Connor, for that matter.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's
no disrespect, Shamari, but
right,
Jaden can do way better, bro. No,
he's a better athlete. I think he's a little bit more comfortable going to the line of scrimmage. I think he's even more comfortable going backwards too. So that the combination of all those things, I think, all come into play. But regardless, this is a guy that is going to be relied upon for this team because they need him. They're not going to be able to get 3 new safeties. That's just not realistic. He is going to have to be a foundational piece of this defense moving forward. And so they're going to have to use him, and he's going to have to continue to play well. Yeah, you're going to have to live with some of the mental mistakes, but you do it for a guy that is this talented, in my personal opinion. Again, I just completely ignored the question mark, so I'll ask you here. The question is, can he be a starting safety? I think we all agree yes. And then, did you have anything specific, DG, that you felt like you knew what the mental mistakes that Spags was referencing was?
It's like I said, it's probably, some of the eye discipline stuff, eliminating the false steps on play action, hitting coverage landmarks, things of that nature like that. And I understand those are technical things for Spags, and Spags is a technical guy, but do those things?
Amari do that shit every
yes,
week.
like it doesn't.
I know you ain't that mad because he do it
right.
recorded.
It doesn't make no sense that you let Shamari Connor go out there and get away with those things, and then you since turn around and say, well, Jaden Hicks does this and that's why he's not on the field.
But he can stay out there,
right? Like,
all right, bro.
I don't get it at all. And Shamari's what? This is third year for Shamari.
Yes.
This is second year for Jaden Hicks. And we clearly have seen who's the better.
Not a question.
Who's the better cover safety?
It's Jaden, bro.
It's Jaden.
Not a question.
Like without a question, I like and I think Shamari Connor in a limited role has a role in this defense, but you have to put him in the right role. I don't understand what you're seeing. Like I said, maybe Jaden said something about Miss Spagnola that
maybe he ain't like her cooking.
Yeah. Maybe he told her he didn't like her meatballs or something like that.
Her cookies kind of mid. I ain't gonna lie. Right. That's what he probably said.
It had to be something, man, because otherwise I can't think of anything.
Shamari definitely got dirt on Spags. Yeah. I hate talking about players this way. I try to be the optimistic one out the group. Ain't no way you watch Shamari Connor these last 2 years and tell me Jaden Hicks can't get on the field more. There's no way. Spags, I'm not even trolling. I'm being dead ass, bro. Look me in the face and tell me you want Shamari Connor out there for all them snaps. And you tell me Jaden Hicks can't do that or can't do any better. If you telling me I can't, God's honest truth, and Jaden did something in the locker room I don't know about. Because there ain't no way you watch this and tell me, yeah, Shamari Connor's better. He's the better option.
Absolutely
week in and week out. Like, come on, bro. There's just no way, bro. Like, I'm not trying to act like I know more than Spags. Spags, you're a genius. You're a diabolical genius. You have some of the greatest game plans I've ever seen. I just don't see you have this kid on your roster and tell me he can't get more snaps. I don't understand that at all. I'm not saying he has to be the full-time starter. Shamari Connor has to be fully benched. I'm not calling for his job.
He has to be the full-time.
Realistically, I think he should be the full-time starter. But I just don't see a world where even
Steve
if I'm trying to play both
Spagnuolo,
sides, DMac, like, how does he not get snaps at all?
Steve Spagnuolo needs to lose his job next year if Jaden Hicks is not a full-time
starter. Oh, yeah. If we go through this again, if I see Shamari Connor out there for 70% of the snaps and Jaden's not playing, I'm a riot.
Yeah,
I'm going to run down to that stadium myself. Yeah. That's a fact.
We can't do another year of that. It can't happen. And the answer damn sure can't be Mike Edwards either. So, but that's
again, Mike Edwards is like 35.
We'll have that conversation with in the offseason.
No, I'm playing. He getting old though.
He looked old too.
Shout out to Mike.
He looked old too.
But you getting old, eh? Oh my God.
But yeah, the safety room I think is quietly, because of the other big needs that this team has, a little bit flying under the radar of how interesting and in flux. I think that it certainly is. Almost to the point where it's a shame. Like, you would, if Shamar Connor was a free agent instead of Brian Cook, I'd feel so much better. But alas,
Bro, we'd be like this.
So with that being said, those are kind of the big guys that we wanted to hit. This is a little bit more of a lightning round. I'll just hit these really quickly. The only thing I got to say about Josh Simmons is, yes, he is a franchise left tackle. Yes. He allowed 2 pressures on 49 pass blocks in week 11 versus the Broncos. He did not allow a single pressure on 15 pass block snaps versus Jonathan Cooper, and he allowed 1 pressure in 13 matchups against Nick Bonito, who led the league in pressures entering that week 11 matchup as well. He has surrendered, at that week 11 point, he has surrendered a 5.4 pressure rate for the season, which was third lowest of amongst left tackles, and the lowest by any rookie left tackle since at least 2018. He's elite. He's awesome. And yeah, he's awesome. I don't have anything more to say about Josh Simmons than he's awesome, and we were very lucky to get him at 32. And I think that I know that people are going to be like, all the personal stuff, all the injuries. I don't care. I really do not. And it won't be until this time next year, God willing, that we're playing in the February. God willing that we are. But that the National Football League will be fully saying, hey, I don't know how we let Josh Simmons get to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I've been hearing from other fans. They already been telling
No. I know that you've heard it a little bit, but it'll be a real consistent thing by the time we get to this time next year.
Boy, because when they see that Will Campbell, they be like, we passed up on Josh Simmons? Yes, you did, busters. Have fun on Sunday.
It will be a consistent thing by the time we get to this time next year. The question for Ashton Gelati is what is his role moving forward for me when I was able to sit down and evaluate him. I mean, he's not an exceptional athlete. He does have a motor. He does work hard. I think that he can give you some really down run snaps. I think he's ideally, in my personal opinion, and I know people may disagree with this, in my personal opinion, he's ideally a 4th edge on a team. Now, I say that again. He can get better. And I'm trying to take anything away from him. He can get better. I think ideally you can put him out there for some early down run snaps. You can maybe stand him up in some interesting fronts if you want to use a little 5-man front, some amoeba looks as well. Maybe do some things about moving him inside and getting some mismatches on his guards. I think you can see that being useful for him. But ultimately, I think he's a 4th defensive end on the team. 3rd if you squint and you got really a really good top 2. Ideally, for me next year, I would like him to be the 4th on the depth chart as far as defensive end is concerned. George Karlaftis, hopefully a draft pick and a free agency signing ahead of him. That's just me personally, but again, not to say that I'm burying the kid, but that's just how I look at him. Next up, Brashard Smith and Noah Williams. For Brashard Smith, DG, the question is kind of, do you want him developed as that 3-down back Jack McKinnon type or focused to more so? I'm sorry. Do you want him developed as a full 3-down back, especially with the rushing ability standpoint, or do you want him to focus a little bit more to being a 3rd down kind of threat gadget player, being able to work on that specific skill set more so than being a full-fledged running back would be the question.
I'd say for me it's a mixture of both. Just because I think that there were some things in that Raiders game that he kind of flashed on, especially when he got the amount of touches out of the backfield. Do I think he should be the full-time starter? No. But is he a nice change of pace kind of back, especially when you want to run outside of the tackles and and get some explosion in those areas. And then you obviously can bring him in for his receiving abilities. I love that part of it out of him. The tunnel screens, the jet motions, things of that nature, handing him off the ball in those places. I think he'll really excel at that. So I think that's his role moving forward. But I do think that he deserves more touches out of the backfield. It was just like that. This year was weird that they relegated him early on to just being the screen guy. And then, those last couple games, you see him getting those touches out of the backfield and seeing that he has a little bit of contact balance. He can get outside of the tackles and create some explosion for you. Has some cutback vision too, as well. So I think that it's worth, putting him out there in a more of a change of pace kind of role. Don't think he should be the full-time starter, but definitely think he deserves more touches going into next year.
Would you have him as? Where'd you have him on the depth chart? Ideally, I should say.
Next year, probably RB 2-3. I still would keep him a kick returner. Maybe even see what he's capable of as punt returning as well too. He's got a role on this team. I don't, like I said, I just don't think he's a full-time starter or anything like that. But there's some things that you can bring him in and use him to be able to do. And then maybe who knows? Like we didn't know what Tyreek Hill as a fifth round pick was going to be capable of until we put him out there and put him in a lot of versatile roles. So maybe Bashar can surprise us or whatever. But I think at this point in time, the ceiling would be RB2, and the I won't say the floor, but the baseline would be RB3, kick return specialist, gadget kind of tunnel screen guy. And that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, go ahead, CJ.
I agree. I think more so like best case scenario, he could turn to an RB2 if he bulks up. And I think the biggest thing is that can he be used in pass pro and those type of things. But I think he showed he can run the ball from an outside zone perspective and in between the tackles if need be, because I think he had that type of elusiveness. He doesn't really take too many big hits. I think that's a very hard talent or nuance to have, because a lot of guys don't do that very well. They get hit a lot. He doesn't really have a lot of big hits on his resume. Even when you watch him at SMU, and he got a lot of carries over there, he didn't really take a lot of huge hits. He has a good job. But kind of like that Lamar thing where we say, like, you never really see him get smacked, like head-on collision, like get killed. He doesn't really do that. He has a really good knack for not taking any crazy hits. So I think his versatility he has potential to be an RB2, but I think right now RB3, gadget role behind a guy like Dameon Pierce, whoever we draft, maybe bring back Kareem Hunt, something like that. I think that's like his best case scenario for next year. So I am excited to see what he does. He does deserve to get more touches. I would love to see him get like at least offensively. He needs 4 to 5 touches a game for me. That's minimum, honestly.
It depends to me. I'm a little bit lower, just from the standpoint
of
different
ways too. Like not just like
he would be, in my opinion, pretty solidly running back 3. And I would not want to go to next year with him anywhere near running back 2. That's just me personally. I would like for him to be behind, ideally, a draft pick and a free agency back, or 2 free agency backs, depending on how things end up shaking out as well. That's just me. I think that he can be a good returner, though, and I think that he can be used as a gadget player and being able to give you that receiving value, and then also what he can do carrying the ball if you ask him to do that occasionally too. So like, there's a role for him, like DG said. I think it's maybe a little bit of a smaller one for me personally, but I do think that they didn't use him much in the ways that they should have, and I think that there's more to get out of him, and there's more for him to develop into as well, because he is so new to the running back position.
Common theme.
Yeah, there's a common theme there. DG, quickly on Noah Williams. Question for him is just really simple. How do you feel about him being a starting outside cornerback?
He needs to start
full time.
He needs to start. I don't want to go into next year with. I'm not gonna play games next year with Steve Spagnuolo. Like, I love him to death. But I'm not gonna sit here and do this. We need to develop and just wait it out. It's like, I don't
blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't want to do that next year. Noah Williams perfectly showed you this year he's more than capable of being a starter in this defense. Especially when all it took for me was to see him line up against Nico Collins. And absolutely put Nico Collins in a jail cell, and that's all I needed to see.
Locked him
up. He's got the cover skills. He's got the instincts. I think he clearly knows what he's doing. He's got the best ball
skills of anybody in the room.
Yes. I don't see how you see these reps and think to yourself,
I'm gonna bench that guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna bench him. I'm not gonna play him. So Steve Spagnuolo does not start him next year. Doesn't start Jaden Hicks. And those guys that like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I know this is probably speaking kind of harshly. If that does not happen this year, and they go into this year, and this defense is still the same, Spagnuolo needs to go. Plain and simple.
It's fair. Can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm gonna give you some grace because you're a great coach and you've done a lot of good things. But if we don't see real change, bro, we gotta have honest conversations. That's fair. Yes. That's reality.
You gotta produce the results. It's a results-based business. You've done it before. When your hand was forced in 2022 to play younger guys,
they played
you see what the results were produced for you. Play these guys, man. Especially in the secondary, like a corner's. I'm sorry, but a DB's prime is probably what 3-4 years. You know, at the top of the. You know, like, play these guys, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're just a generational guy like a Jalen Ramsey or
guys that like 10+ years. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that Noah Williams does need to be an outside starter cornerback for this team. As you said, he's got the physicality. You could pick apart a little bit as far as his long speed is concerned, but I thought that he actually showed a pretty good job at defending some of the inbreakers, certainly, as you mentioned, versus Nico Collins specifically. And he's got the best ball skills of anybody in the room. So Noah Williams needs to be a starting outside corner. Definitely agree there. CJ, your two guys, Noah Gray, are you comfortable with him being tight end 1 next year?
Well, I mean, right now, I think Travis Kelce's probably coming back, so we probably won't get a real answer. Yeah. But hypothetically, yeah, if he's not there, I'm comfortable with him being tight end 1. I would like to see us.
Really, you're comfortable with him being the starting tight end?
I mean, let's be honest. And this is like, I don't get to draft one. Like, this is just him.
No, I'm saying, would you be comfortable? If
I thought you meant like I can't add anyone to like the room.
I'm asking just.
Okay, that's
would
different.
You be comfortable with Noah Gray being the starting tight end on this team next year?
Oh yeah, not knowing I can't draft anyone, I would say no. Yeah. I thought we were doing this like Travis Kelce's gone. I have no other option. Like, okay.
No, I'm saying, well, this would assumedly. If you're saying Travis Kelce's gone, you go into the offseason, are you saying, hey, I need to get a tight end 1? Or are you saying that
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I would like, if Travis Kelce didn't come back and he announced retirement tomorrow, I'm looking at the board for guys like Sadiq. We've all talked about him. I'm looking at Eli Stowers. I'm looking at a Max Clare from Ohio State. I'm looking at who else did we say? What's the kid out of, how do you say his name? I'm gonna butcher this. He's from Utah. Oh, this is gonna suck.
Oh.
I fuck up his name every time. Michael Trigg from Baylor. I don't know how to say his name.
Right.
Plenty of guys that I like on the board. I don't like this class more than I did last year, but this class is solid enough that you can find a guy to be a starter. My favorites would be obviously guys like Stowers and Sadiq if I had to pick two. But yeah, if I could draft a tight end and I know Travis Kelce's leaving, I'm getting somebody else in front of Noah Gray. I think Noah Gray is a good complementary piece as your tight end 2. As your move guy, he could be your H-back if you need heavier set formations. I think he does a good job of that. I don't want him being my full-time starting tight end, of course, because I think there's other better options for sure. So that's the way I would look at him. Had a decent year, nothing really special. I think he was better 2 years ago than he was this year. Nothing really crazy to talk about as far as stats. Production, he didn't really get targeted as much as he should have. Had some occasional drops this year, which is going to happen. You're going to have those years where you drop the ball more often than not. But, I would definitely like to add someone else to the room if Travis Kelce decided to hang it up for sure. Absolutely.
Sorry to ask it that way, but I did want to see.
No, I thought it was based off like we're not adding anyone, like just straight room right now.
Well, like, I mean, then you wouldn't have a choice. You would have to be.
Yeah, I'm like, well, if I got to pick somebody, then I'm picking him over Jake Brenningstool or Jared Wiley.
Right? Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't provide enough blocking wise, and he's not a dynamic enough receiver.
Exactly.
Again, he can be useful. Don't get me wrong. I truly
for sure. That's why he's a good too.
I think that and we'll talk about this a little bit more. I think you need a specific blocking tight end, not somebody that can't catch the ball, but just a guy that is really good at blocking as far as your heavy personnel. And I think Noah Gray could still be there. And then depending on what happens with Kelce, he either is tight end 1 or you're replacing tight end 1 when Kelsey moves on, and Noah Gray can stay in that role as number 2 in between those two things, in my opinion.
For sure.
It's kind of how I view the tight end room. Brian Cook, how much would you pay Brian Cook to keep him on the team?
I think his AAV on the market I saw was around like 14 to 15. I think that's actually kind of low. I thought he would get more, honestly. I know free agency is meant for guys to get overpaid, but if we can get him for like 14, 15, I'll be happy. I think that's a very good value for a guy like him, because I think he's probably going to be the top 2, maybe number 1 safety on the market. If I'm not mistaken, I need to look at the free agency class again for safeties, but I think obviously he deserves to get his money, just like we're talking about Trent McDuffie, another guy in that 22 class who's played very well. They got multiple championship rings on their finger. They've done a lot of good things for us. He had a career year. This is probably the best season he's had since his rookie year here in the Chiefs uniform. So I think he's earned the right to get paid. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to get him for cheap and get him back on a team-friendly deal. But if he decided, like Trent, like we said, if he wanted to go test the market and see what he's actually worth and try to overpay what he is on the market, then I'm not mad at that at all. So my heart wants him to stay, but I think more than realistic, I think he's gone. I think he leaves. I think he goes test the market and kind of, I mean, we've had some other safeties leave, like Juan Thornhill, Justin Reid, who we all were kind of glad to see go. Tyrann Mathieu was older at that time, even though I thought he could still play. So we've had some safeties leave the building. He'll be the youngest one, but it's the next to Juan. So I think obviously he deserves his payday, but I would love to have him back. I think he had a great year. And I think him and Coach Merritt have a really good synergy, and Spags trust him to do a lot of things as far as covering on the back end, playing deep third, tackling. He did a really good tackling year this year as well. Coming off the ankle injury he had, he played very well. So I would love to have B. Cook back, but I think in my heart of hearts, I think he's gone. I think he tests the market and probably gets paid. So
I'm not mad at that at all. Like I said, the right money I could see coming back. It depends on what happens really with Watson and McDuffie and how that'll inform the rest of the offseason.
You know, DBs talk. They're like, hey, bro, I got this on the market, you know.
Yeah. We'll save the Shrine and Senior Bowl stuff to begin next week, because obviously we'll be in full offseason mode and won't be catching up on some news. And I will be going first as far as choose your own offseason is concerned, talking about how we want to get things done. And either CJ or DG will be given their scenario as well. Real quick before we finish it off, got two things. One, the Ringer put together a list of the last 50 Super Bowl performances, because since the year 2000 for quarterbacks on, and Patrick Mahomes' 2022 versus the Eagles was actually the number 1 ranked performance according to him. Do you guys have real quick? I did. 1 second. Let me see it. Real quick, do you guys have you guys keep texting the chat while I'm trying to. Oh, okay.
No, DG, I wouldn't even do it.
Y'all are killing me. For ranking Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl performances, how are we doing it? 2022.
I mean, you got to put 22 at the nigga got a broke foot or broke ankles.
Yeah. Ankle gate.
I'll probably put 23 after that.
23 after that.
19.
Jordan-esque.
Yeah, the back-to-back. I go 19.
And then 19. It wasn't the greatest performance, but what he did in that fourth quarter was phenomenal.
Good comeback for sure.
Yeah. That's how I mean, we ranking the other ones as well.
Them don't count.
I mean 2020 would obviously be better than 2020.
Although he did some,
he's out there going horizontal trying to throw the ball like this.
Although he had a great moment in those games,
No, I would say that in a different way than 2024, where he was legitimately bad to start off the game. I think 2020, I thought that he was actually good. Just did people drop the ball, and he didn't have much of a chance.
He didn't have a line, so
he was throwing the ball like this.
So yeah, that's that. I'll be honest with you guys. I was gonna say that later rest this week was gonna be the Donkeys, considering the fact that
we could do dope them too.
Them too.
Goodbye to them. And apparently, Sean Payton has angered Bo Nix by disclosing some information as far as his injury is concerned and his ankle surgeries and things of that nature. So even in a year in which the Donkeys get to the AFC Championship game, things are still very shaky over there in Denver, in my personal opinion. I know that other people will not agree with this statement, but I do not think that the Broncos are going to be a perennial AFC Championship game team.
Absolutely.
And I will be very happy when they pay Bo Nix as well.
Please pay Bo.
DG wants to do this for later, Russ, and I'm gonna let him go ahead and take it away.
It's not football related, but man, did we see some tragic
That thing went
things
flying
over the weekend. Listen, before you pause it real quick. Listen, man, I'm not a bald-headed guy, right? You know, I'm fortunate enough that I have my hair. You know, my dad is a bald-headed guy, and I
shout out to Pop too.
I beat the family curse in our family. You know, shout out to my mom, man.
Shout out to Mom too.
If you're a bald-headed guy out there, you know, I would just tell you, live in your truth, brother.
Embrace it.
Embrace your truth. You know, don't be like Big Baby Miller and get in the ring in front of thousands of fans in Madison Square Garden and do something like this. This is not the route to go. To all my bald-headed guys out there,
that ain't it, player.
This ain't it. Whoever is on his team, whoever's his friends, his family, his wife, they don't love him.
Y'all should be embarrassed.
They should be highly embarrassed to ever let this man. Yeah, you can play. You can go ahead.
Off his head, Sergio. Wow. That is going to make the rounds on social media. That's like a cartoon. Oh, my goodness gracious. It's a toupee. And he just took it off his head, Sergio. Wow. That is going to make the rounds on social media.
Awful. And then you're going to protect your face, and the glove is going to make it come off even more. Y'all don't understand. They were clowning this man. They had this man's hair in the front row.
And they were taking like pictures of it. They were taking pictures of it on the seat. They were taking pictures of it on other people's heads. He did a press tour the last 2 days.
DMac,
He's been on every platform.
You know what the worst part is? The man had the nerve to put a part.
He got a cut and did a part on it.
Like he sat in the chair and
hey, bro,
said,
give me that part, bro. Give me that part.
Give me that part right there. then we come to find out he paid $700.
7 smackaroonies.
700. 700. Yes.
American dollars.
American dollars to his barber.
Ooh, that made up Vanessa.
To get this style done.
Look at this.
Hey, yeah.
They was putting the hair on in the front row.
Bruh.
That's so sad. That's sad, bro.
I said it on Saturday. His barber should never cut hair again.
Definitely don't do that.
The fact that he let that man go out there and do this and he knew it was gonna come glue off. Was not
that glue was gonna sweat off.
Bro, I just don't understand it, man. I don't understand.
I don't.
And then he tried to lie and say I was at my mom's house and I put bleach in my hair. Man, please, you was already bald.
I didn't even know $700, bro. That's awful.
That's crazy. $700 is
just
wild.
Bad all the way around, man.
That's crazy.
You know that you are in a sport that requires you getting hit in the head, and you going terrible decision making. Shout out to him. He won the match, so shout out to him for doing so.
And he got a sponsorship. He gonna get a deal off this.
Yeah, just terrible decision making, man. So we're gonna lay him and his hair and the donkeys to rest to wrap this up. Anything before we go to get on out of here, guys?
Man.
Underdog wings and things.
Yeah, underdog wings.
Yeah, we'll get to the underdog fantasy. Obviously, big game on Sunday. Put in your bets. Basketball in full swing. NHL in full swing. I think they may have some Winter Olympic stuff. Be on the lookout.
They should.
We don't know. We may have some Winter Olympics. Make sure you guys check that out as well. $100 deposit match code Truth3, and then Wings and Thing game day box for the big game. go ahead, tell them Kingdom Cast says you know what it is. Anything $675 tip is funny. Anything else, guys?
Nah.
All right. With that being said, appreciate y'all. Choose your own off season coming up next week. Looking forward to it, getting into some of these scenarios as well. Peace out, y'all. Go Chiefs.